Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Salam Media, your home of humanitarian journalism, where humanity sets the agenda. You're on News and Views with Shabnam Palesa Mohamed standing in for Salailo. And our third guest for today is Tumi Sole. He's the founder of Country Duty, has a massive following on X. And we've been following each other for a while. And I see he has entered the fray on the subject of AfriForum and such subversive agendas. Tumi, welcome to the show. It's really good to have you join us.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on the show. I'm glad that this conversation is happening. It ought to have happened a while ago, but we're here now.
Absolutely, and we're going to need more conversations and longer conversations. This one is going to be very much rapid fire, given that we have 4 guests on the show today. But Tumi, I want to start with what we're going to do in this conversation is screen some of the posts that people have been sharing on X on the subject, and we'll talk through them. But I want to begin with this particular cartoon, if we can bring it up on screen there, Olani. And here is Kali Kriel. Tumi, it wasn't us. We didn't start this fire. And you can see that petrol container there labeled disinformation. Here's the South African flag, for what it's worth, on fire. And Kali proclaiming innocence. But Kali, amongst others, are the ones who are pouring the fuel, who are setting the flames, and we're seeing that manifest to me with threats and intimidation against us by what I call Zayo imperialism, as represented by its current front, Donald Trump, with everything from sanctions to boycotting the G20, to endorsing accusations or allegations about genocide, to sending Kenyans to our country illegally to facilitate refugee applications, and threatening us, basically, trying to find a pretext to attack us in different ways. And I'm reminded, to me, about how weapons of mass destruction was used as a pretext to attack Iraq. So we as South Africa are facing a very serious situation. I'm not sure the majority of our country understands what we're facing here. Your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you for that. I think that cartoon actually really shows the extent of this disinformation, right? It's like that, the boy who cries wolf, and you would do it, and when it happens, suddenly no one will take you serious. So AfriForum has been at the center of disinformation. And their disinformation has, unfortunately, at that time, fell on deaf ears. But with the election of Trump and the rise of white supremacy, we are seeing now a big focus on South Africa and on people who do not subscribe to human rights and all these gross international violations of law and humanitarian law in particular. So what AfriForum then has done is, through solidarity and other parties, campaigned. They get massive funding, went to the US and other parts of the world to try and get as much funding, but more so to discredit our country. And they've done this as victims of the so-called white genocide. And the important thing there is this starts from somewhere. There's been a view with what they call farm attacks or farm murders. And you would call before that there was a equality court case between the EFF and AfriForum. In fact, it precedes the EFF. It was the the AfriForum and the ANC. It went to the Supreme Court of Appeal. At that particular time, the ANC didn't do much with that issue, and it was found that the singer of that song was indeed hate speech. Subsequently, EFF, through its leader, sang the song, and they litigated against EFF, and the Equality Court said, look, this is not hate speech or inciting violence, this is protected speech, and it can be sung. And throughout that, they've been creating an illusion of swart gevaar, danger, persecution, and white people. And that then fell on Elon Musk's timeline, on Donald Trump, the White House, and it's now seen as if certain white people are being, in fact, Afrikaners are being persecuted, which indeed is not the case. So that history is quite important because we have a Supreme Court, in fact, a Constitutional Court judgment that talks to and says singing of that song is not hate speech. But because of their disinformation and they want to believe their own truth, their followers, including Musk and the likes, are not interested in facts. And that's why we are here. And I agree with you that this disinformation is nothing else but a threat to our country and national security.
Absolutely. So to me, I'm also reminded, you mentioned that Equality Court case, and it was found that Kali Creel was not a credible witness. But I want to highlight, if you can bring up, Kolani, the fifth image there, 345, the last one actually. And this is Eusebius McKaiser, where Kali Creel was on his show. And he said, I don't think apartheid was a crime against humanity. So this is the kind of individual and the mindset that we're actually dealing with, who are denying the facts about what apartheid was and the enormous suffering that it caused as a way to whitewash these crimes and to pave the way for, amongst other things, Orania, right? And simultaneously, we have the DA in the Western Cape now wanting to put up this massive wall between the haves and the have-not, which reminds, of course, of the Zionist settler entity and our past with the Bantustans. So certainly there is this growing relationship, even if it's not overt, between the AfriForums, the DAs, Zionism, and imperialism. Your thoughts?
Absolutely. And again, the DA wants to spend almost R1 billion. It's 812 million to build a wall on the N2. But the DA prides itself as governing well, doing everything possible, and where it governs, it's all good. But the reality is people in Kailicha, Yanga, Langa, Philippi are victims of crime as well. And they actually happen to experience more crime than people who live in the CBD. But the DA, unfortunately, cannot pick and choose. Crime affects us all, and it's the same thing with AfriForum. The crime stats actually tell us that it's more Black people who are killed and killed, gruesomely, and it's not white people, or there's no mass persecution or murder of white people. But these people are not interested in stats and facts. And the building of a wall is actually also offensive. I am not sure what is the current GNU government doing to deal with these type of issues, because again, they need to be dealing with the source, which is the crime, the societal issues, poverty, inequality. Building a wall is not going to solve this issue. They're doing exactly what the US is doing, and they are taking that playbook and trying to implement it here. And if they are left unchecked, we are unfortunately going to see a situation where suddenly they call themselves the Cape Independence succeeding because the wall will be on the N2, and then it then moves throughout Cape Town. You and I would have to get a passport eventually to get into what we now call the Republic of Cape Town, and we cannot allow that in a democratic country.
Absolutely. And that is the agenda ultimately. It's a takeover of Cape Town and the Western Cape. And in my analysis, and I've been writing a series on security threats facing us as a country and a continent and the global south by extension, the KZN will be next. It's on the East Coast. There's enormous resources here. And of course, Eastern Cape, there's Dalindebo. They're taking the knee. And then, Gauteng and so on and so forth. And the continent is surrounded by the US military, and the private military industry as well is extremely strong. And I think we tend to forget that. We were watching a major in the Navy a couple of weeks ago talking about how our defense system has been depleted. And now there's an attempt to give a private company the contract to monitor our seas. But let's have a look, Tumi, at that first image there, Olani. Hawks investigating high treason. Dockets linked to AfriForum Solidarity US visit. This was in March. I haven't been able to find much updates since. Let's have a look at the last image there, Olani, number 5. And this is ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula. The ANC unequivocally condemns Kali Creel and AfriForum for their latest actions, which constitute a reckless, racist, and deliberate campaign to undermine South Africa's sovereignty, discredit lawful state institutions, and incite fear to manufacture disinformation. This conduct is no longer fringe rhetoric, it's calculated political project aimed at destabilizing our democracy and fracturing social cohesion. 500,000 views. But to me, how have they been allowed to continue in this way, not just undermining our country? It's one thing to have an opinion, but threatening our sovereignty, and we're seeing it manifest in direct threats and intimidation. How is our country's political system and the very same leadership in the GNU, etc., why are they allowing this to happen?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that they've allowed this to happen and persist for this long, right? The view of negotiating with kids' love, especially with people who don't care about this beautiful country of ours. AfriForum and its members are not patriotic. We need to say that because no one who loves this country dearly will spread disinformation. No one who loves this country dearly will go at all ends to really threaten the sovereignty of the country. When the US spoke about sanctions, they were the first ones to cry and state that, look, it's best that these sanctions are leveled against ANC leaders, for example. And sanctions don't work like that. It's a country, in as much as its leaders as well, it's going to impact them. If you look at, for example, what Wandile Slobo also posts about farming, we're quite doing well as a country on exports and farming. And it will be the Afrikaners and the farmers who will be hit hard in terms of any sanction that will be in this particular country. And again, this disinformation, as I state, that it's not patriotism, it's something that has been left unchecked for a long time. So it's late in the day, in my view, where you have an ANC SG and quite a huge political leader that says they need to be called out. What they should be doing, in my view, is to litigating against them. Let them be dragged to the Equality Court, because their speech and their rhetoric, in my view, does not align with the provisions of the Equality Act. They harbor on treason, economic treason, and in as much as the onus is high, but in the Equality Court, for example, if you look at the Promotion and Prevention of Equality and Discrimination Act, some of the things that they do ought to be tested and be litigated against. And I do think that we can't leave these things unchecked. So citizens need to come together, and this is exactly what we're doing through your show on social media, where I understand, the diplomatic channels where DECO and government can't really just be as blatant as you and I can be. However, us as citizens doing our country duty, we can state and point out that we do not engage in disinformation, and we call them out. You spoke earlier about the Equality Court and the likes. The court found Ernest Roots as a very unreliable witness. That's fact. And it's exactly that. They asked him what, at any point, if there's anything where there was a linkage between Sing of the Song and Farm Matters, they could not present any proof. But I think we need to galvanize, we need to call out this disinformation. In my view, Donald Trump's reign is not going to last for long. If this is unchecked, we are unfortunately going to find ourselves, infringed upon, and we need to be able to do what we can. So let us do what we can as citizens, as people like you in the media space and streaming, myself, a social activist, and call out and really say to South Africans, let's do our part.
Absolutely. And a correction there, you're quite right. It's Ernest Ruetz who was found to be basically not a credible witness. When we come back to me, I want to highlight some of the posts that people are sharing on the X space regarding AfriForum and how strongly people feel. You're quite right. It's largely up to us, the people, to make our views heard. We'll take a quick break and then come back to hear your assessment on what is being shared on X.
Sure.
This is Salam Media.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic Sharia and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings from short-term to life and investments. A full-service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
In South Africa, countless numbers of sick patients leave their homes at the crack of dawn to join long queues at clinics and public hospitals, many of them suffering pangs of hunger in addition to the symptoms of disease. The Al Imdad Foundation's Slice for Life teams deliver sandwiches to these patients at more than 40 hospitals and clinics across the country. Help us to keep on relieving hunger. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
Ah, the kitchen, the heart of the home, where memories are made and celebrated. Our go-to place for those freshly stacked pancakes early in the morning or for that late-night snack munchies. We are in there together, cooking, eating and celebrating life together. Let's keep the kitchen a place that is shared by everyone, where we build stronger bonds and grow together. Sunfoil, Now We Cooking. Visit nowwecooking.co.za for recipes that everyone can help make.
Penny Appeal's Education First campaign helps children to get access to quality education.
I'm 14 years old. When I grow up, I'd like to be a scientist.
We believe every child belongs at school,
And we want education, a better education.
learning and dreaming their way to a better future. With your help, we can provide classrooms, desks, stationery packs, and school shoes. Help make these dreams a reality. Visit www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573. Penny Appeal. Small change, big difference.
Hey Gulam.
Yeah?
Did I return your lawnmower last month?
No, bye, you didn't.
Oh no. Now what'll I do? I wanted to borrow it again, man.
With Randry Jewelers, you won't have to borrow or lend because the prices are so well trimmed on all gold and diamond jewelry. Alternatively, we could remake your old jewelry into a brilliant new design. Visit Randry Jewelers at 151 Stevens Lamini Road, Musgrave, Durban. Randry Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
Welcome back to Salam Media, your home of humanitarian journalism. Shabnam Palesa Mohamed, and news and views, standing in for Salailo, and our guest in this third segment today, Tumi Sole, the founder of Country Duty, and we're talking about AfriForum, imperialism, and the Cape exit agenda. Exit sounds like such an understatement and a euphemism, but let's look at some of the comments we were seeing on X. It is a very robust space on this topic. Obviously, the likes of AfriForum, etc., have enormous funding in that space to be able to push their perspectives. But we are seeing South Africans and our allies push back. Let's have a look at some of the contributions on X. Let's look at the first one there, Kolani, the first post on X. So, well, this is my response to you, to me. Because you had posted about the equality, and that was a goal, it was a finding of gold. I thought there was such important information to share. And I should have said Ernest Ruetz, and I'll correct that. AfriForum's Ernest Ruetz is an unreliable witness established by a court. He's leading a well-funded effort to destabilize South Africa. Is it APAC? Is it US aid? People are calling it treason or sedition. So that's a very important thread of conversation on X, that people are calling it treason or at very least sedition. In my perspective, anyone willfully associating with AfriForum or Solidarity is aiding and abetting. South Africans, wake up. I think it was a very strong message because I am acutely aware of just how dangerous this agenda is. Let's have a look at the next one, please, Kolani. A man's not Barry Roo. He says, why is Kali Kriel and AfriForum allowed to do so much damage to South Africa? Why are they allowed to continue to weaponize fabricated lies against this country? Why is government helplessly paralyzed against their relentless onslaught? What's really going on here? And the next one, and you can come in with a comment once I've read them to me. The next one, please, Olani. Third one. Yes, Kobani Nzongana, there's a difference between misinformation and disinformation. AfriForum and Solidarity are spreading disinformation, which is a deliberate act to destabilize our country. That's why some of us don't understand why these criminals aren't in CMAX for treason and economic terrorism. That's a very important term. And the last one there, please, Olani. Peter Dutoy, Kriel and AfriForum are vassals of the Trump admin, and their statements are an extension of the US government's policies and ideology. They believe and parrot American positions and should therefore be considered malignant domestic actors. Your comments to me.
Absolutely. And I agree with the views. Again, this situation has been left unchecked for such a long time. We ought not to be here. But now that we are here, firstly, our media has a very important role to play. One, in my view, the likes of AfriForum ought not to be given the limelight. There's one channel that I'm not going to mention that is always interviewing them. If there's a reaction or a view, they are the first one to get a call, and you will see them spewing this disinformation. So media houses that love this country ought to do their country duty and not give them the platform, because in this platform, they are then allowed to spread their views unchallenged. I don't know when last was the likes of Ernest Roots or Kriel in a debate with someone, so that their views are challenged there and there. And that's why the media houses, in my view, ought to do better insofar as not giving AfriForum the necessary leverage and mileage. Number two, insofar as the engagement and advancement of our laws, absolutely, there's nothing wrong in testing these laws, right? So you will find that there has not been a case like this. They have to go in and put it out, get the best lawyers, and let's take it. These guys have money. We are the taxpayers. We can fund this type of litigation as we would with other issues, including service delivery. And government ought to then do its part in addressing this thing. The danger with not dealing with these type of issues is that it remains fact. Whatever they say, there's genocide where there is none. The question then is, why are there just no more than 5,000 refugees that have or are making their way to the USA? Because they have houses here. White people are our friends. They are living large with us. Our kids go to the same school. There's no persecution or killing of white Afrikaners. In fact, what you are seeing is there's, in terms of the data, more return. People are missing out on what South Africa offers. If you go to the UK, for example, you have to pay in for a nanny. And there's a minimum pay there for nannies. And it's not like in South Africa where most of them are exploited. So it's all not, glory on the other side. And again, it's this disinformation. If you were to ask Kriel and Roots, why are they not leaving? It's because they love it here. It works out for them. They have people who really, drink their Kool-Aid and are happy with whatever that they're doing. If indeed there was a persecution, you would see lots of people exiting and running away. That is not happening. And you need to then see it for what it is, other than it's a scheme of profit making that AfriForum is engaged in. And for as long as they are unsuspecting clients and people, they will always make money from them. And that's exactly what they're doing.
Divide and conquer, and certainly it is making them a lot of money of driving people's fear. And the irony is that some of the refugees who had gone to the US are wanting to come back on holiday, to a country
Correct.
where there's allegedly a genocide. It makes no sense. But we do also want to acknowledge the Afrikaners that are speaking out against AfriForum's agenda and saying, not in my name. Tumi, we're going to continue this conversation. Absolutely. I'd love to invite you to participate in the People's TRC on this very subject. Thank you for doing your country duty.
Thank you very much, and speak to you soon. Thanks to everyone who tuned in.
Take care. Wow, great conversation there with Tumi Sole, the founder of Country Duty, joining us on Salam Media. Our last guest coming up, Fakhri Hassan, talking about who benefits from chaos, division, and suffering in our world. He's part of the People's CRC. Join you on the next link.